What makes someone truly attractive? Is it their face, their clothes, their money, or perhaps it is something you cannot see, but you can feel? Think about the most memorable person you have ever met. Maybe they weren't the most beautiful. Maybe they weren't the richest. Maybe they weren't even the loudest person in the room. Yet somehow you remembered them. You remembered the way they spoke, the way they listened, the way they made everyone around them feel comfortable. There is a psychological reason for this. One of the most attractive personality traits a person can have is emotional stability. Not being emotionless, not pretending that nothing hurts, but knowing how to experience your emotions without allowing those emotions to control you. Carl Jung spent much of his life exploring the hidden parts of the human personality. He believed that becoming aware of your inner world was an important part of becoming a complete person. And this idea can change the way you understand attraction, because people are naturally drawn to someone who feels comfortable inside themselves. Think about the difference between two people. One constantly needs approval. They worry about what everyone thinks. They change their personality depending on who is watching. The other person is comfortable being themselves. They don't need to prove their value. They can walk into a room without desperately trying to be noticed. And strangely, they often get noticed anyway. Why? Because confidence without desperation feels different. It creates a sense of safety. Daniel Goleman connected this to emotional intelligence. A person who understands their own emotions can also become better at understanding the emotions of other people. They know when to speak, when to listen, when to give someone space, and when a simple smile is enough. That is powerful, because imagine talking to someone who is constantly waiting for their turn to speak. You can feel that they aren't really listening. Now imagine someone who looks at you, actually listens, and remembers the small things you said. You feel seen, and being seen is one of the strongest human experiences. Maybe that is why the most attractive personality trait isn't confidence alone. It is the ability to make other people feel comfortable being themselves around you. You don't need to become louder. You don't need to become more mysterious. You don't need to change your appearance. Sometimes you simply need to become more present, because when someone feels that they can relax around you, something changes. They stop performing, they stop pretending, and they begin showing you who they really are. And perhaps that is the kind of attraction that lasts long after physical beauty has been forgotten. There is a subtle difference between someone who wants attention and someone who naturally receives it. The first person tries to be impressive. The second simply feels comfortable in their own skin. And that difference can completely change how people experience you. Daniel Goleman explained that emotional intelligence is not simply about understanding your own feelings. It is also about recognizing what other people are feeling. Think about a conversation you had recently. Did the other person actually listen, or were they just waiting for their turn to speak? There is something very attractive about someone who listens without interrupting. They don't constantly bring the conversation back to themselves. They don't need to prove that they know more. Instead, they become curious. They ask questions They remember small details, and they make you feel like your words actually matter. That feeling can create a powerful connection because human beings have a deep need to feel understood. Arthur Aaron and his colleagues studied how personal questions can help create closeness between people. The interesting part isn't simply the questions themselves. It is the willingness to reveal something real and listen to another person without judgment. That is why someone who creates a safe emotional space can become extremely attractive. You don't feel like you have to perform. You don't feel like every sentence will be judged. You can simply be yourself, and that is rare. Most people walk through life wearing different masks. One personality at work, another with friends, another around strangers. But when someone feels safe around you, they slowly put the mask down. Their voice changes, their body relaxes, their humor becomes more natural, and suddenly you are no longer talking to the version they show everyone. You are talking to the real person. That is why emotional stability can be so powerful. When you don't react to every little thing, people feel safer around you. When you don't judge every mistake they become more open. When you don't demand constant attention, they can breathe, and strangely, the less you force a connection, the more natural the connection can become. Real attraction doesn't always begin with excitement. Sometimes it begins with peace, with the feeling that you can sit beside someone and not feel the need to pretend. Perhaps that is why the most attractive people aren't always the ones who enter a room and immediately demand attention. Sometimes they are the ones who make everyone around them feel important, and that is a quality people remember long after the conversation. Have you ever wondered why some people can walk into a room and instantly make everyone feel comfortable? It isn't because they are the loudest or the funniest or even the most attractive physically. There is something deeper. At work, psychologist Arthur Aaron spent years studying human connection. His research showed that people feel closer, not because someone appears perfect, but because they feel safe enough to be real. Think about the people you enjoy spending time with. They probably don't try to impress you every second. They don't constantly talk about themselves. Instead, they create a feeling of comfort, a feeling that you can simply be yourself. That feeling is rare because today many people are trying to be interesting. Very few are trying to be understanding. And surprisingly, understanding someone is often far more attractive than impressing them. The most charismatic people do not always speak the most. Sometimes they simply know how to make others feel heard. When you give someone your complete attention without checking your phone, without interrupting, without judging, you give them something more valuable than advice. You give them presence, and presence has become one of the rarest things in the modern world. People remember how you made them feel, not because you had the perfect words, but because for a few moments they felt important. That is why real attraction isn't created by pretending to be someone else. It grows when you stop trying to impress everyone and begin being honest, calm, and emotionally present. Perhaps that is the quality people search for without even realizing it. Think about the people you admire the most. Chances are they never forced you to like them. They simply remained authentic. They didn't need constant validation. They didn't pretend to be perfect. They accepted their flaws, and because they accepted themselves, other people found it easier to accept them as well. Confidence isn't pretending you have no weaknesses. It is knowing your weaknesses without allowing them to define who you are. Perhaps that quiet confidence is what people remember long after the first impression has faded, because beauty may catch someone's attention, but the way you make someone feel determines whether they stay. And perhaps that is why the most attractive personality trait has never been perfection. It has always been the ability to make another person feel safe, accepted, and genuinely understood. There is one more powerful quality that makes someone naturally attractive. It isn't expensive clothes. It isn't perfect looks. And it certainly isn't pretending to be someone else. It is the quiet confidence that comes from accepting who you are. Social psychologist Amy Cuddy spent years studying how body language shapes the way people see us. She explained that confidence is often communicated before a single word is spoken. The way you stand, the way you walk, the way you look at the world. All of these send messages to the people around you. But real confidence isn't loud. It doesn't need to dominate the room. It doesn't need to prove anything, because people who truly know their value don't spend their lives trying to convince everyone else. Think about someone who enters a room calmly. They smile, they greet people, they listen, they never compete for attention. Yet somehow everyone notices them. Why? Because calmness feels safe, and people are naturally drawn to safety. Many people believe that attraction comes from looking perfect, but psychology suggests something different. People remember how you made them feel far more than the clothes you wore or the words you used. If someone feels respected around you, they remember. If someone feels understood around you, they remember. If someone feels accepted without pretending, they remember. Perhaps that is why kindness combined with confidence becomes so powerful. Not kindness that seeks approval, but kindness that expects nothing in return, because real confidence allows you to be kind without feeling weak. It allows you to remain calm even when others lose control. And perhaps that quiet strength is exactly what makes someone impossible to forget. There is another reason why confidence feels attractive. Confident people do not try to control everyone around them. They understand that respect cannot be forced. It can only be earned. They don't become jealous when others succeed, because they know someone else's success doesn't reduce their own value. Instead, they focus on becoming better than they were yesterday. Perhaps that quiet mindset is what makes them stand out, not because they demand attention, but because they no longer need it. And people can always feel the difference between someone who is chasing validation and someone who has already found peace within themselves. Because in the end, people may forget your appearance, they may forget your words, but they rarely forget the way you made them feel about themselves. Before this video ends, there is one final idea worth remembering. Many people spend years trying to become more attractive. They change their appearance, their style, even their personality, hoping that one day everyone will like them. But perhaps that was never the answer. Carl Jung believed that the greatest journey a person can take is becoming who they truly are, not who the world expects them to be. Because pretending may attract attention, but authenticity creates real connection. People can sense when someone is genuine. They may not always know why, but they feel it. That feeling creates trust, and trust is far more powerful than appearance. The most attractive personality trait isn't perfection. It isn't popularity. It isn't being the loudest in the room. It is the quiet confidence that comes from accepting yourself. It is the kindness that expects nothing in return. It is the calmness that remains even when life becomes difficult. Perhaps that is why some people leave a mark on your life without ever trying to impress you. They simply make you feel safe, respected, accepted, and understood. Those feelings stay long after faces are forgotten, names disappear, and conversations fade away, because people rarely remember everything you said, but they almost always remember how you made them feel. So instead of asking, how can I become more attractive? Perhaps ask yourself, how can I make the people around me feel valued? That single question can change your relationships, your confidence, and perhaps even your life. One last thought. The people who leave the deepest impression are rarely the people who tried the hardest to be admired. They are the people who remained honest, patient, and true to themselves. They understood that real attraction is not about becoming someone different. It is about becoming the best version of who you already are. Because when you stop searching for approval, you begin finding inner peace. And perhaps there is nothing more attractive than a person who knows their worth without needing the world to constantly confirm it. Because true attraction doesn't begin with beauty. It begins with character. And character is built one choice at a time. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more videos about psychology, Carl Jung, human behavior, and self-development. Remember, the most attractive thing about you will always be the person you choose to become.